my pleasure and proud privilege to welcome each one of you. Today we'll be witnessing something very, very unique. May I request all guests to kindly be seated. I, Harleen Kaur Chadda, along with my co-host Mr. Ajay Mittal, on behalf of Energy Swaraj Foundation and All India Council for Technical Education, I welcome each one of you to this very, very special conference. Today's conference, Action for Restoring Environment, ARE, Conference and Awards, it's one of its kind, where the focus is on the actions for restoring our environment. The reason I say unique is that we'll witness unique elements that will not only deepen our understanding about the criticality of the environment, but also introduce us to the changes and the actions that we need to take urgently. So any pious occasion starts with the lighting of the lamp. A spark of a light illuminates the world, and lighting a lamp dispels darkness. It represents dignity, wisdom, and intellect. And all auspicious occasions begin with the lighting of the lamp. May I please call upon our guests today, Dr. Anjal Prakash, Ms. Sia Kumar, Mr. Anurag Sharma, Dr. Ajay Mathur, and Professor Chetan Solanki for the lighting of the lamp. Technical team to please play the prayer. May I request the students to please join us on stage for the prayer.
बाप्पा मोरया. गण गणपते नमो नमः. श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः. अष्टविनायक नमो नमः. मंगलमूर्ति मोरया. तुझसे हर शब्द तेरा है, हर गीत तुझसे.
Thank you all the students for prayer. May I request all the guests to please take their seat on the dais.
श्री भास्कराय नमः. ओम श्री सूर्यनारायण नमः. आदिदेव नमस्तुभ्यं. प्रसीद मम भास्करं दिवाकरं. नमस्तुभ्यं प्रभाकरं. नमस्तुते. आदित्याय विद्महे दिवाकराय धीमहि. तन्नो सूर्यः प्रचोदयात्.
Thank you so much. May I request the guests to please take their seat. And may I invite Dr. Venkat Rajaraman. Dr. Venkat Rajaraman is an advisory committee member of the National Center for Photovoltaic Research and Education, NCPRE India. He has over 25 years of experience in product design and engineering management. Prior to that, he was the CEO of Sukham Power Systems, leading power backup and RE solution provider for India. Before moving to renewable space, he was the vice president of engineering at Portal Blair, a company that was acquired by Nvidia Corp in 2007. He worked at Sun Microsystems USA. He has a BE degree from Madurai Kamraj University and a master's degree in electrical engineering from Stanford University. He specializes in renewable energy, engineering management, product design and development. May I request Dr. Venkat Rajaraman to please deliver the welcome address. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Rajaraman. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a fantastic day, and I am so proud to be part of this event. I welcome all the distinguished dignitaries on the stage, off the stage, and all the students and the participants. This conference is one of its kind conference. Professor Solanki gave us only two main directions. One, the question that he was asking is, let's not be very nice in this conference, right? Let's make sure that we ask tough questions. We ask tough questions to ourselves. We ask tough questions to governments. We ask tough questions to organizations. We ask tough questions to the individuals. And the question is, are we taking enough action, right? So that's one broad guideline. And number two, are we waiting for somebody else to solve our problem, or are we going to solve it our own? I think these two are the major deliberations that are going to happen over the next 2 days. And I truly looking forward to an engaging discussion. And I welcome all the dignitaries on the stage again. Thank you.
This is just a token of our appreciation for all of you being here. Thank you so much. Over the period of these 2 days, you'll be witnessing a lot of action. We'll be having quizzes, conference, and at the same time, there's a selfie point. We are absolutely grateful to all our guest speakers who've spared the time to be with us today. I now request Professor Chetan Solanki. Professor Solanki is an educator, researcher, innovator, and a happiness program teacher of Art of Living, who is currently on an unpaid leave from IIT Bombay. He has undertaken the Energy Swaraj Yatra from November 2020 onwards, and he intends being on the solar bus for a period of 11 years till about 2030. In the wake of serious and catastrophic climate change, this Energy Swaraj Yatra is designed with the purpose to create a public movement towards adoption of 100% solar energy. He has been honored with the Brand Ambassador of Solar Energy Award from the Madhya Pradesh government. He is popularly known as the Solar Man of India. Times of India, The Hindu, and India Today popularly call him Solar Gandhi. Following the idealisms of Gandhiji, he has coined the word Energy Swaraj and established the Energy Swaraj globally and founded the Energy Swaraj Foundation. Over to Professor Chetan Solanki.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is my pleasure to be here, and I'm so thankful to all the dignitaries, all the audience, AICT, and everybody who has made it possible that we come together and discuss, are we taking enough action? Before I further talk, it is my pleasure to have Dr. Mathur. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. Bagai is online. Professor Anjal is here with us. Mr. Anurag Sharma is here. Ms. Sia is here. Mehak is here. And all of you. So thank you very much and welcome to all. Before I proceed further, let me ask all of you, how are you all? All happy? I only talk to happy people, and for those who do not know, the Gita says that behind every single act that we perform in your life, there's only one purpose, is to be happy, whether we want to look good, whether we want to eat well, whether we want to study well. So behind everything, there is only one purpose, and that is what we're missing. Whenever we go everywhere, ask people, how are you, how are you, everybody is fine, and they remain fine for the whole life. So that is what is not acceptable in our foundation with Energy Swaraj, and I hope in this conference. So I hope everybody, when you go across and ask anyone in the conference and ask how are you, I hope the answer will be happy, right? Can we agree to that? Yes. So let me ask once again, how are you all? Happy. Very nice, thank you so much. Before I further start talking, I would like to play a video for all of you. Can you please play a video of nature, please?
Some call me nature. Others call me Mother Nature. I've been here for over 4.5 billion years. 22,500 times longer than you. I don't really need people, but people need me. Yes, your future depends on me. When I thrive, you thrive. When I falter, you falter. Or worse. But I've been here for eons. I have fed species greater than you, and I have starved species greater than you. My oceans, my soil, my flowing streams, my forests, they all can take you or leave you. How you choose to live each day, whether you regard or disregard me, doesn't really matter to me. One way or the other. Your actions will determine your fate, not mine. I am nature. I will go on. I am prepared to evolve. Are you?
So I think the message is very clear that we need nature. Nature does not need people. And for some reason, I don't know why, all the dignitaries, I feel that the humans, the modern humans are behaving in a very stupid manner. You know? Somehow, the same air that we breathe is polluted. The same water that we drink is also polluted. The same forest that helps us to live on this planet is also being cut down. And as we are progressing further, as we are becoming more and more modern, this behavior is intensifying. And as you have seen from what nature is saying, it is her oceans, it is her tree, it is her water. It is not yours. You are here only to use it and survive. I hope also the nature's message is very, very clear, that nature has a starved species greater than us. And many species have come and gone on this planet. I hope we are all going to understand this and start acting in an appropriate manner. Not only that, we have polluted the air, water, soil, river, forest, everything, but also with our own act, water table is going down, the forest cover is going down. It looks like that we are stealing things for our future generation. Whatever water, the quality of the water that I have enjoyed in my life, my birth, my childhood, it is not there anymore. And water table is going very fast, the forest cover is going fast, the carbon dioxide levels are increasing in the atmosphere. Whatever carbon dioxide there is beneath the surface, we are digging it very fast, the coal, oil and gas, and we are all letting it free in the atmosphere. As a result of which, there is about 50% extra carbon dioxide sitting in the atmosphere right now. 50%. And I'm sure everybody knows that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, which means that it is going to trap the heat, and that trapping of the heat is going to warm up the planet, which is going to heat up the planet, that is going to result in global warming, and that is causing the climate change. And it is not the thing of a research and science anymore. Everybody can feel and experience that there is something wrong on this planet. It is not same anymore. The climate has changed. I used to ask this to all people, have you experienced the change? And everybody would say yes. But the problem is, even the young child who is in school in 10th and 12th standard, go and ask any school and ask them, do you feel that the weather has changed? And the answer would be yes, definitely. So things are not only that changing, and it is changing very fast. The question that we are gathered on this conference to study and answer is, are we taking enough action? The environment is already destroyed, disturbed. We need to restore it. But even to restore it, are we taking enough action? An answer seems to be no, absolutely not. There have been Paris Agreement, There are lots of government working, NDCs are being signed, thousands of NGOs working, academia working, everybody is working. And the whole purpose of this is to do something to mitigate the climate change. But the problem is that no, we are not doing enough, we are not taking enough action. Every year the climate change is worse than the previous year. And not only that, it's not slowing down, it is not stopping, rather it is accelerating. So let us wake up and realize that no, we are not taking enough action. And whatever action we are taking does not seem to be appropriate. Whatever we are taking is not appropriate because of a very simple reason, we are not able to solve it. So I believe that either we do not know how to solve the climate change, or we are not taking enough action, or both of them. And I believe it is both of them. Neither we understand how to solve the problem of climate change, neither we are able to take enough action. And therefore, the whole world needs to really wake up and shake itself from the deep sleep we are in and start understanding what action is required. Well, I believe there is something fundamentally wrong in our approach to solve the problem of climate change. We do not understand. For one simple thing that Mahatma Gandhi said, there is only enough in the world for everyone's need, not for anyone's greed. And why did he say that? For very simple fact that the size of our planet is fixed and constant. Though the population is growing, the size of the planet is not growing. The soil is fixed, the water is fixed, the minerals are fixed. Every single resource on this planet is finite and fixed. But somehow this modern humans think that, no, we should grow continuously, we should produce more and consume more. That is not possible. So I have created two fundamental laws, and you can call them Solanki's laws, The law of human existence on this planet, or sustainability. What is the law? In an ecosystem of finite resources, there has to be finite consumption. Everything is finite. You must consume in a finite manner. There is no amount of science or technology can help you to overcome this law. And second, in an ecosystem of finite resources, there has to be distributed production. Because every time you centralize the production, it is always going to result in unequal distribution, which is going to create inequity in the world, which is going to create violence in the world. That is what we are observing. So limit your consumption and localize your production is the solution. And I must quote Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, who has launched this mission Life last year. Life is lifestyle for environment. We need to change the lifestyle. There cannot be any other alternative. There cannot be. And I am a scientist myself, I am a professor myself, and I am telling that there cannot be any other solution until we learn to limit our consumption and localize our production. So I hope you are going to follow that. At the end, I would expect that from this conference, by the time each one of you leave this conference, you are the change person. You are going to take action yourself. You are going to realize and figure out what is enough action that we need to take. What is the gap between the current action and what action is required. There are exhibitions outside. I hope you are going to visit the stalls and also look at the innovative solutions that are available. At the end, I would also like to thank everyone, all the participants who are joining and making this conference a good event, all the speakers, but also the sponsors. ONGC has been a great support for us. So platinum sponsor, Shell India is also a great supporter. They are also a gold sponsor, and one more organization. So there are people who are helping us and making sure that we can organize conference like this. So thank you very much for being part. I hope you are all going to enjoy the conference. I hope you are all going to learn something and start taking enough action. One of the single action that I would like to request everyone, I have stopped ironing my clothes. Because when you iron the clothes, it is going to take at least 400, 800 watt of power. That's a lot of power. Can we all start living in a manner that we don't iron our clothes, all of us, so that we save that much of carbon dioxide? Not only that, low energy consumption has to be made the fashion of our life. Can we live without refrigerator? Can we live without taking bath with hot water? Can we live without using air conditioning? In the next session, we are going to discuss, can we reduce our energy consumption, make it as a fashion of our life? And to make a fashion, we are doing many things. One of the things I am proud to say as a father, that we are going to do this, and I request every father and parent here to do that. I have 2 daughters, and we have decided that whenever my daughters will get married, in their marriage function, we are only going to invite those people who come without ironing their clothes. That will be the dress code. And anybody who come with iron clothes will say, thank you very much, come tomorrow. We'll welcome you some other time. So I hope everyone here listening to me online, offline, are going to start taking action right now. Do not wait for the end of conference, so that we can make it as a beautiful world for ourselves and our future generation. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Solanki, for sharing the insightful views. And very rightly said, there's enough for everyone's need, but never enough for everyone's greed. Thank you. May I request Professor Rajiv Kumar to please join us on the dais. Next up, we have a very, very special guest who's joining us virtually. This is Mr. Atul Bagai. Welcome, sir. Mr. Atul Bagai joined the UN Environment's Ozone Action Program under the Montreal Protocol as a regional officer for South Asia in the year 2000. And he served as a senior regional coordinator to build the capacity in Network Asia and to enable them to meet the compliance targets under the Montreal Protocol. In that capacity, he spearheaded and led some innovative initiatives with the executive community of the Multilateral Front. May I request the technical team to please play the video.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. The distinguished dignitaries on the dais. First, I would like to apologize for not being there in person, because at a very short notice we have hosting the Minister of Environment who's coming to the UN House to brief the UN country team on the COP27 and its outcomes, and my apologies, I could not be there. And I would like to thank Chetanji also for giving UNEP this opportunity to be presenting their perspective on a very, very critical issue that is raised. Are we doing enough? And post COP27, from a UNEP perspective, we would have a very mixed feeling, and I'm sure everyone sitting there in that hall would also agree with me that COP27 did not deliver what we were all expecting it to. And there would always be a mixed feeling in terms of we moved a step forward in certain respects. But I think we've not moved at all on issues which are of grave concern and which are the cause of the climate change problem we are facing. And if you're looking at the latest reports from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they tell us that the climate change is disrupting the natural world, undermining development and threatening millions with poverty. However, as I said, we are still not doing enough to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. And UNEP's 2022 emissions cap report certainly conveys this feeling that there is a huge yawning gap between what we need to achieve and what we are doing. I think the time for incremental change we've been talking about is long, long over. We are, as Chetanji said, we need to look at comprehensive transformation to avert this climate disaster. I'd also like to say that while science has done a great job warning us of the triple planetary crisis, the crisis of nature, the crisis of climate, and the crisis of pollution, there is still this huge gap between science, policy, and action. And I think to close this gap, the science-policy interface needs to become more focused on solutions. I think we all, as key stakeholders in this whole area of sustainability, are aware of the quantum of problem we are facing. But solutions, diverse solutions drawn from different disciplines and experiences is what we really need to bring on the table. this can, I think, only happen through a very rapid shift from, let's say, fossil fuels to renewables and alternative fuels, moving away from deforestation to restoration, through backing nature in our landscapes, oceans, and cities, and of course, transforming our cities into green and clean spaces. And overall, the overriding factor would be the behavioral change that Chetanji also talked about, and the Honorable Prime Minister recently launched the LIFE program on 20th October along with the UN Secretary General. And I think that is a big change in our behavior that is needed. Chetanji talked about one small change that he's adopted of not ironing his clothes. We also know how individuals are taking up these small steps, nudges towards addressing climate issues. Sonam Wangchuk the other day was talking about how he doesn't take a bath in hot water, and even staying in that cold area of Ladakh, he prefers to take his morning bath in cold water. So there are these individual actions that really can make a change, and we can still do it through individual action. But also, I think the big issue, the big elephant in the room is that the biggest polluters would urgently need to deal with their own emissions and crucially help developing nations leapfrog to cleaner technologies. And I think this kind of ambience is needed for the behavioral change we are talking of to make an impact. And I think that's where COP27 has not been able to deliver, where the commitments on finance or the commitments on technology transfer were not really discussed or finalized in a way that would assist the developing country community. I think if we are able to tackle some of these areas of food shortage, resource extraction, and Chetanji gave some very good examples, if we are able to tackle them right, and we are looking at reducing emissions, protecting nature, building energy security, delivering plentiful and nutritious food, increasing human health, and so much more, I think we would be able to give a better world to the next generation. UNEP in India is trying to work with stakeholders on seeing how this triple planetary crisis can be avoided. And we are doing a very little bit in terms of finding solutions on the ground. For example, we are working with Bihar to develop a low carbon pathway strategy, which is the first state in the country to even talk about carbon neutrality much before the Glasgow Agreement and the Glasgow announcement of the Prime Minister. And this is a very big step that Bihar is taking. We are working with the district in Odisha, Angul, to develop a circular economy strategy, while Niti Aayog is working on 11 sectors strategies at a national level. There is this small district in Odisha that wants to see how they can do this on the ground. So I think changes like this are needed to address this climate change problem. And I would conclude by saying and answering that question that Chetanji has put forward to all of us, are we doing enough? I would say we are making small steps, we are taking small steps, but I think we need to do much, much more to see that we are able to make people's lives better and address the climate disasters that are surrounding us on a daily basis. I would again like to thank the organizations to invite us and UNEP for participating in this, and my apologies again for not being there physically. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your precious thoughts. And rightly said, we need to be focused more on solution. Thank you so much. Can we have a big round of applause so that the energy also goes high? Thank you, sir. And now, before I proceed further, there is a very, very special announcement this morning. In fact, it is the highlight of today's day. May I call upon Ms. Mehak Solanki to please share a very precious message with all of us. Mehak is a student of class 11 studying in a KV school in Bhopal. I call upon Ms. Mehak Solanki to please address the audience.
Good morning to all. It is my pleasure to read out the message from none other than the Honorable Prime Minister of India. It is heartening to learn that Professor Chetan Singh Solanki from IIT Bombay and his Energy Swaraj Foundation, in association with All India Council for Technical Education, are organizing Action for Restoring Environment Conference. While most of the discourse surrounding climate change usually focuses upon stopping the damage on our environment, I am happy that this conference goes a step further and seeks to create a roadmap for restoring our environment. This mirrors India's own outlook towards our planet as well. There is an element of both, reducing future damage as well as undoing past harm. While India has created a mass movement against single-use plastic, it has also been increasing forest cover and restoring rivers to their pristine state. While we are leading the global movement towards a solar-powered future through the International Solar Alliance, we are also focusing on building the momentum towards an environment-conscious lifestyle through the life movement that cares for the planet. I am positive that this conference will impart greater strength to many of these initiatives and also come up with innovative action points for every part of society. I send my best wishes to all those who are involved in this conference. Further, I am happy to note that Professor Chetan Singh Solanki has embarked on a journey of 12 years to create awareness on climate change and adoption of solar energy. I wish him best for the Energy Swaraj Yatra through a solar bus.
Thank you, Mehak. It was indeed a very, very inspiring message. Doesn't this call for a big round of applause, please? Thank you so much. We really appreciate the alive audience. Next up, we have with us Professor Rajiv Kumar. He is a member secretary of AICTE. Dr. Rajiv Kumar, he pursued his ME in Computer Technology and Application from Delhi College of Engineering and PhD from IIT Delhi. After completing his PhD, he joined DCR University of Science and Technology. He's published a number of research papers in national and international journals and presented papers in India and abroad. May I call upon Professor Rajiv Kumar, please.
Namaskar. Professor Chetan Singh Solanki, dignitaries on the dais, students from various institutions in and around Delhi, and media persons, invited guests. Very happy good morning to each and everyone. First of all, I thank Chetan Singh Solanki ji for organizing this conference and having an association with AICTE. We are proud to be partner of Energy Swaraj movement, and not only that we are organizing this conference here at AICTE premises, but Chetan Singh Solanki is guiding us since last 3 years, and we have taken various initiatives in our office also. First and foremost target Professor Solanki gave to AICTE that you reduce your energy consumption by 20%. And we are happy that we worked hard on this challenge, and not only in AICTE headquarters, but also in all our regional offices, and he is monitoring our bills every month. So we are happy that we are able to achieve our target. Now, this is a small thing. As Professor Solanki was talking, that there is no single rule that we can reduce, we can minimize this consumption. Everybody has to innovate on himself. Like he was telling that he has stopped ironing his clothes. Similar type of small initiatives that can help in achieving the target. And important thing is that Professor Solanki is addressing this issue with our students in schools and colleges. He has organized various competitions in schools as well as colleges. Large number of students, they are associated with him. They are volunteers also, large number of volunteers, they are sitting over here. Definitely such type of conferences, meetings will help at least sensitizing the mankind. What are the consequences of the things going on and how we can address such issues. So this is the important part of this conference, deliberation, discussions during this conference, and the resolutions ultimately is going to help all of us. And I assure Professor Solanki that whatever suggestions, deliberations and outcome of this conference we are going to share with our colleges. Not only share, we will be the partner with Professor Solanki that these suggestions, they are implemented with spirit in our institutions. So with all these words, once again on behalf of AICT, I thank Professor Solanki, and I also welcome all the dignitaries and the guests, students from various institutions to AICT premises. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. The pressing question still remains, are we actually doing enough? Next up, we have with us Dr. Anjal Prakash. Dr. Anjal Prakash is a research director and adjunct associate professor from Bharati Institute of Public Policy, Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, India. He is a coordinating lead author of IPCC's special report on the ocean and cryptosphere in changing climate. He is also a lead author in the chapter on cities, settlements, and key infrastructure in IPCC's 6th assessment report. His work focuses on water and climate change, urban resilience, gender and social inclusion are certain other issues that he has covered for South Asia. May I request Dr. Anjal Prakash to please give his presentation.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so very good morning to all of you, and I'm very happy to be speaking to such an august audience. Can you hear me at the back? People, can you? Yeah, thank you so much. And dignitaries on the dais and all my colleagues, friends, and especially I'm very happy to see the young, population here, especially the students who are part of this. So let me just focus on what we call 10 major climate change, what we call the advancement in the climate change scenarios. Can we have the presentation on here? Yeah. So this is part of what we call, every year the climate scientists, you know that IPCC writes report every 5 to 6 years, that's the cycle that they have. But in the climate science part of it, there's a group of people who actually put this together, a major 10 major learnings, and that gets presented every year at the COP. So this is the 10. I think the thing is not coming very well. Next, please. I actually wanted the control of myself, but that is somewhere there, so I have to keep going next. So this is the paper which has come out, which actually takes out all the major findings from what has happened, the advancement in climate science, and puts you in the nutshell. So today I am going to tell you 10 major advancements till as I am speaking today, because this was presented on 10th of November at the COP. We were all there to take this forward. So let me just go to the first insight that we have. Next, please. Okay. Next, please. Yeah. So the first one, which is very important part, and I want you all to have a little more attention, that the way in which we are adapting to the climate change. Earlier, when we were working on the IPCC report, the focus was on adaptation to climate change. But what we also found in the 6th assessment report, that the adaptation is not enough. We also have to mitigate. So the first thing which we, the lesson that we've learned so far is that we need to also question the what we call the myth of endless adaptation. My sound is actually breaking, so let me move here. Actually, that will be better. Okay. So the first part is what we call is the our potential to adapt to climate change has its own limits. We are already reaching the limits of adaptation, and if we do not mitigate, and that's why Professor Solanki's work on energy conservation and thing become very relevant, because we have to work on those aspects. That's number one. Next slide, please. So if you see this slide, slightly more nuanced understanding of how we are actually breaching, and if we are somewhere, if you see on we have a space where we can negotiate adaptation, but at the same time we also see that the frequency and the severity of some of the events, especially the climate-led events, are increasing or rising very fast. And we are already breaching that part. So we are on the top where we see that some of these events are very frequent. At the same time, it is also having what we call the catastrophic event effects on the lives of the people, especially millions of poor who stay in the global south. So this important part is that adaptation is fine, but there is a limit to which we can adapt. If you're staying in, say, high, risk zone, flood areas and all that, and I've been working quite a lot with flood-affected people in the plains of Bihar, UP and all, we find that, every year the flood comes, they get devastated, and then they have to rebuild their life again. So that's the part, is that they are already limited. Earlier, the flood used to come once in 2 or 3 years. Now it is coming 3 or 4 times in the same season, and that's the whole problem, is that the frequency is increasing, the way in which it is affecting lives of the people is also increasing. So that's the first message I want you to drive home. There's a limit to adaptation. We also have to mitigate. Next slide, please. The second part is that we also see that about 1.6 billion people are actually in the vulnerability hotspot. Now, if I say hotspot, what are these hotspots mean? This means that you're staying in a very high risk environment. It could be heat stress, it could be stress from the landslide, it could be stress from the staying in the high flood zone, anything in that part. And altogether, the world's about 1.6 billion people are living in these vulnerability hotspot. And this, the projection is that it's going to go double by 2050. So next 15 to 20 years is going to be much more problematic if we continue the lifestyle and the way we are emitting at this moment. So that's the second point that I want you to drive home. Next, please. Next slide, please. So if you look at the darker sides, darker color in this world map is the place where people are most vulnerable. And if you come to India, for example, you could see that there are 2 areas which can be very, very important. One is definitely about the glacier and the mountain system. I have worked for 5 years in Kathmandu. We looked at the way in which the glacier rivers have a huge impact from the climate change. The entire river regimes have been changing. There is a dry spell. There is a flood happening. So that part is very vulnerable because it provides about the Himalayan region. It has about 10 major river basins which originate from the entire region, and it is very, very sensitive to the way climate is changing, and that's why it is, and it's also about catering to about 1.3 billion people in entire Asia. So this system is at risk. Second part is about heat stress, which these 2 points, which is very, very important for us to drive home. We are almost on the middle to kind of a severe stress regions, especially when it regards to climate catastrophes are concerned. Next, please. The third part is that if you look at the climate and the health interaction, there has been not much research on this aspects, and young people and the professionals here, I would like on all those who are working on health and climate interactions could bring in more sharp focus, especially for what is coming out from India. But what we get from the literature so far is that the impact of climate change on the health, humans and animals, the entire ecosystems are really, really widespread, and their new risks are also emerging. And that's something that has come out very well in the this present climate change, the IPCC report that I was part of. Next, please. And how is it impacting? There are certain sectors, in the interest of time, I'll just skip that part, but
Ultimately, there are, if you look at the risks coming from the flood, it will, you have the forest fire, you have the warming climate. Because of that, there's certain impacts which is going to happen. Rise in disease is something which has been very, very sharply captured by some of the health scientists and health economists. And that is saying that the huge number of population are going to be impacted because of the health conditions in the deteriorating climate environment. Next, please. So that's the third point. The fourth point is about migration. Now, migration is a very multidimensional effect, but what we have seen in the report is that the migration is one of the major component, especially climate change, one of the major component that drives migration. We see that more and more people coming from climate risk reason to flocking to cities, because that's the only way they can save their lives. And I've done anthropological research in the floodplains of North Bihar, especially in Champaran areas, and I find that people every year they migrate. At least the male member of the family migrate to 3 to 4 months, of sometimes 5 to 6 months in other places like Punjab, other places like Kerala, and all these places, even Tamil Nadu. So the climate-led migration is something that is becoming an order of the day. Huge number of people this is affecting the mobility of the people. Climate change is a force multiplier. As I said again, migration is a multifaceted phenomena, but climate change is becoming a force multiplier in this process. Next, please. This is a figure I'm going to skip, but about 83% of the migration, and this is the global data, which actually can be attributed to different climate change led events, and that's the figure which is showing, and it's actually rising as we go along. Next, please. The fifth point is about human security. Requires climate security. So that's the whole part, is that the risk which is related to human security. Climate change is becoming a major part of that problem, especially coming from African region, which there's a violent conflict, which is also leading to human insecurity. We found that the climate change is increasing the security of the people. So that's the major component which has been accelerated by climate change. Next, please. So before the sixth assessment report, there were 3 special reports which were there, and I was being part of one of the report, which is focusing on the interconnected systems of oceans in the cryosphere. Cryosphere is something which is the frozen part of the world, the Himalayas, the North Pole, the South Pole. One other report which is also focusing on land resource. And land resource report actually tells us that the sustainable land use is essential for meeting climate change targets. Our land also, fertility is being lost because of extensive cultivation and the water loss in the soil moisture areas. These are things which requires urgent and what we call the radical shift in the way we are using land for purpose. And that's one point that I want you to drive home. Next, please. The seventh part is very important, is that the private finance which is available should have been available for people. That is not what I would say up to the mark. So if you see they are actually failing to bring people out from the distress. And the private sector which is falling to harness the investment that meaningfully contribute to what we call meeting climate targets. Next, please. This is one of the figure which actually shows how much the finance is flowing. But I was talking to Swaraj bhai, who's actually heading Gorakhpur Environment Action Program, and he was telling me that the farmers, especially the women farmers, when it comes to crop insurance, for example, there is a Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, but many people do not know about this one. At the same time, when there is a flood, for example, they don't know where to go, and the entire ecosystem in which this the insurance company pays up to the people is also very faulty. There are challenges there, and that's why I'm saying that the private finance is actually has to really buck up. They have to come up to meet the expectations of the people. Next, please. The 8th point I want you to drive home is about the loss and damage. Now, all of you who have followed COP27, you know that the loss and damage facility has been granted, in a sense, after a lot of negotiation which has happened. First of all, this was not part of the agenda. It was with a lot of efforts by climate scientists, activists. It was put in the agenda of COP27. And I was actually not hopeful. So when my media colleagues were asking me what is going to happen to the outcome of COP27, I told him that it's going to be going the same way. But thankfully, the last minute negotiations have actually led to what we call the loss and damage facility. But the devil lies in the detail. We still have to see what is going to happen. But the part is that this part has been included in the climate negotiation. That itself is a big achievement. And I know the global response in looking at how the historical emitters should also pay up, because today's climate change is not what you and I have contributed to. Today's climate change actually has been done by the industrialized north, the countries which has polluted the environment. They have taken a lot of carbon space, and have left very few for us to develop. And that's where I see that the countries, the global south, actually are what we call fighting and their development finance is actually going into fixing the climate change problem, which was actually a creation of the global north. And this part has been half the battle won, in a sense that we have a loss and damage fund, which may further negotiate this further. Next, please. Next, please. I'll just skip the slide because these are all reiterating the point that I'm trying to make. The ninth point, and the two more points left. Ninth point is about the inclusive decision making for climate resilient development. This is something that has been coming very often, that fine, these global policies are there. How do we actually enact locally? Because climate change is a global problem, but its impacts are very, very local in nature. And that's where we need to have the decision making process. I would say that we go down to district and the sub-district level, build in those information that we bring in from the top, but also bring in from the bottom of what people are facing. And this part is something that has been missing. I think the present service delivery systems of the government is very, very faulty, because the way in which climate change is parked in one department, same time there hasn't been much interaction. So they're all working in silos, but coming down to the local or the last person's impact on climate change and how he or she is going to get relief from climate change is very, very faulty in nature. And that's where we need to have what we call the inclusive decision making process. Next, please. The last point I want to bring it here is about the structural barriers and the unsustainable lock-in. See, the way, and Professor Solanki has already pressed this point, that we are already economy which is transitioning towards a high carbon consuming economy. We are going towards 5 trillion US dollar GDP, which is going to go in next couple of years. And that also means that we are going to be emitting much more than contributing. And so India at this moment is the second largest polluter, but our per capita carbon emission is one of the lowest in the world. So that means we are still very low carbon economy as far as you and I are concerned. But at the same time, I think we need to also chart what we call the green future in terms of green economy. So there are alternative ways in which we can also develop, not pollute. See, the way in which our Western model has happened is that you develop, you pollute, and you try to fix the environment. That part, when you develop, pollute, and then you try to reverse the pollution, that part, the time is gone, because we are already reaching what we call the planetary boundaries of adaptations. We cannot do the same model. So here we have to develop. We also have to prosper. At the same time, we also have to go along with what we call the way in which we can fix the environment. We can go along with the environment than going against with them. That's all. That's my 10 points. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prakash, for this beautiful, thought-provoking presentation. It beautifully summed the very, very critical concern that we all have at hand. So environment degradation is not only important, but very, very critical at the moment. And as he rightfully said, that climate change is a force multiplier. Now, moving on to the next speaker, I would like to introduce her with this quote, that we haven't inherited this planet from our ancestors. We borrowed it from our future generations. Today, after a very, very technical listening to all that we had to do, we are talking about more exceptional aspects of the environment degradation. This generation has not contributed much to this concern, but they have inherited it. The next speaker for the morning is Ms. Sia Kumar, a future ambassador and a stakeholder of this generation. She is a class 12 student of Boom Public School. Sia Kumar is a science student of grade 12 from the Bloom Public School. She is a climate change enthusiast and very passionate about the cause. She aspires to do her bit and contribute significantly to make the difference. Over to Ms. Sia Kumar.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Am I audible? Okay. Good morning, everyone. The very outset, I would like to thank Professor Solanki as well as the Energy Swaraj Foundation for giving me this opportunity and vicariously through me, us young people, an opportunity to be able to bring our perspective and our viewpoint on climate change in this conversation. If I talk about my personal experience, what me and my peers for so long have felt about global warming and climate change. Well, we thought it used to be the last chapter of our science textbook, and it was restricted to being just that. And I'll tell you why. It was because while we were taught mitigation measures very extensively in principle, we didn't see a lot of them being translated into practice. So we were taught about the need for waste management, the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. Over time they became the 5 R's. But the garbage dump on our way home to school only grew bigger and the stench unbearable every day. We knew the problem was CO2 emissions, so we need to stop burning fossil fuels. We could do a bit by carpooling to work, using public transport, planting more trees. But for kids like me who grew up in metropolitan cities, the number of cars in our neighborhood really tell us another story. For all those of you living in Delhi, I'm sure your locality would have a parking problem because there are so many cars, there is no space to park. Most of the cars are parked alongside roads, and obviously they also contribute to the very high pollution levels in our city. I have reasons to believe that we are more ignorant towards the need of in the environment in big towns where we live more and more disconnected from nature and more reliant on technology. But if we as citizens, if kids today are not climate conscious, then who is it that we should blame for it? Irrespective, our generation will be the one that will bear the brunt of this crisis. We are trying to remedy an ailment, we are trying to rectify a problem that our own predecessors created and left for us. Over the past few years, I'm sure you must have seen that there has been an increase in the involvement of youth when it comes to climate movements. And if there's one thing that this experience has taught us, it is that we are not restricted to being just sole victims. We've seen that if kids are given the right direction, if empowered, we can act as catalysts for change. And the change doesn't have to be big or small, it matters as long as it makes a difference. Which is where I would like to say that where we students can make a difference. We can help our schools, our colleges, and I say that to all the students, my fellow friends present in the audience, that we can help our schools and our colleges reduce their carbon footprint. If I give my own example, we had our school restructured so as to increase the green cover. We have also rainwater harvesting pits and solar panels. Currently, we are working towards going plastic free. I have also feel that this is where NGOs, alliances and other organizations need to step in to create a more structured but decentralized framework that trains kids and empowers them to be able to lead the change. Additionally, going back to what I said before, we need to rethink how we teach kids and students about climate change. I have seen my own friends and I'm guilty when I say that for some time the idea of sustainability used to be a mere group project or a poster making project or an assignment, and that is incorrect. We need to promote sustainability as a lifestyle choice. And with the new curriculums, I feel that it should not only engage students but also their parents and the teachers to be a part of it. Having said all that, there are, I don't know if I can say this, there is an element of frustration associated with how the large-scale global response to the climate urgency has been. What vexes me is that we have known about global warming and its implications, the impact of our actions since decades. Yet somehow we all talk about it like it's some new profound discovery and there's so much hope this time and we can still do things. There are big talks but no real steps. How long has it been since there was the last lockdown in our country? I would like to ask all of you. When was the last lockdown? How long ago? Do we remember? When was the last lockdown? A year almost? Well, it's only been a year, and it seems to me we have already forgotten the lessons that the pandemic taught us. Nature will find ways to reclaim its own space. So we need to learn how to coexist. If we want the planet to thrive, we need to learn how to coexist. I really hope that everything that is taught to you at the conference today is not lost in oblivion. I don't know how many of you know about, there's a little phenomena called eco-anxiety. Yes, it's real. So amongst the youth, they're anxious about climate change and the impact that it will have on their future. I think this is one of the very few cases where I would pray people have anxiety because if this is the only thing that propels them to take action against it. I would like to conclude by saying that please don't let everything that you learn at this conference be lost in oblivion, reiterating myself here. And as Solanki sir and Dr. Anil Prakash rightly said that we need to be the change that we wish to see. So let us start by implementing it in our own lives. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Sia. It was indeed a pleasure listening to you. I think this definitely calls for a big round of applause. Every little step counts. Every drop in the ocean counts. Very normal things like reducing carbon footprints, going plastic free, every little thing will make a big difference. Social responsibility and ethics, civic literacy and citizenship. Anything but everything contributes to a better tomorrow. Thank you, Sia, for sharing your thoughts. Next up, we have Mr. Anurag Sharma. He's a director onshore, ONGC. Mr. Anurag Sharma took over as a charge of a director onshore, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation on 1st June 2020. As a director, Mr. Anurag provided stewardship to oil and gas production from ONGC's onshore fields. A mechanical engineer, Mr. Anurag Sharma joined ONGC in 1984. Since the joining, he's held various positions in ONGC and ONGC Videsh in Asset Management Operations and Services. Over to you, please.
Mr. Mathur, Mr. Solanki, other dignitaries on the dais and participants, very good morning to all of you. I'd like to congratulate Energy Swaraj Foundation and AICT for organizing this ARE conference. ONGC is happy to be part of this conference. We have a long-standing relationship with IIT Bombay. and Professor Solanki has been supporting us in many ways, and we are hopeful that this relationship will continue in the future as well. The Energy Swaraj Yatra of Professor Solanki for 11 years without going home is one of the unique efforts undertaken, not only in India, but across the world. I wish him and Energy Swaraj Foundation the very best to achieve the goals that have been set. On personal note, I believe that everyone should support it. As has been said by the speakers before me, and we all know that everyone is experiencing climate change. It is affecting lives of everyone, everywhere in the world. Therefore, the world needs to prepare for it in more than one ways, spreading awareness, taking actions, etc. ONGC has been playing an important role in powering the nation's growth. We have also been working towards greening the future. Still, there is a long way to go. The question that this conference is asking, are we taking enough action? It is very important and pertinent question in today's time. Also, the manner climate is changing, everybody needs to contribute to the solutions and mitigations of climate change. As we all know, we have Panchamrita strategy in place, and as the results indicate, we are doing well so far. We are already ahead in 3 quantitative targets, 230 targets, 40% renewable power capacity, reduction of emission intensity of GDP, and additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion ton CO2 equivalent. However, decarbonization will require many combined factors to be successful, which include avoided demand, CO2 capture and storage, hydrogen, bioenergy, technology performance, electrification, other renewables and fuel shifts. The world continues its need to access energy securely in an affordable way and a clean way. Reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and flaring is critical. Accelerating the energy transition will still require a large share of oil and gas. There is an opportunity for oil industry using the scale, technology and expertise to develop areas like offshore wind, electric mobility, hydrogen development, etc. Under the Global Methane Initiative, which has been launched by US Environmental Protection Agency, a voluntary agreement has been signed by ONGC and US EPA in 2007. Gas leak surveys are conducted regularly. We know that the mitigation costs are much lesser than the market value of the gas itself. Further, if we add environmental costs, the benefits far outweigh the cost. The current trend and the technology tells us that using piloted aircraft, drone-based sensors, fixed sensors, satellites, MRV, these can be used for monitoring and detection, and these will improve the detection work. As far as ONGC is concerned, we have 15 CDM projects registered with UNFCCC with an emission reduction potential of 2.1 billion TCO2 per year. The 728 megawatt capacity OTPC, which is a natural gas-based combined cycle power plant, is one of the largest CDM projects in the world. We also have ambitious plans in the area of hydrogen and geothermal energy. Energy, sustainability, carbon management, clean development mechanism, they have been part of ONGC's initiatives. One of the examples of our efforts is launching of Clean Cooking Challenge, which was won by the team led by Professor Solanki. And there is a unique village by the name of Bancha in MP, where the entire village cooks on solar stoves. Besides, large share of CSR funds goes towards environmental protection measures. We also have CR fund for this purpose. We have 184 megawatt of installed renewable energy capacity, and we are going to add much more to it very soon. We have MOUs with NTPC, SCCI, Greenco, Equinor, etc. for various renewable energy projects. Oil and gas will remain part of the energy mix for decades to come. And for the world to meet ambitious emission reduction targets, a premium value needs to be associated with the lowest carbon intensity oil and gas assets, as these fossil fuels continue to help meet energy demand until renewable energy sources can be scaled adequately to replace them. Therefore, market awareness of carbon intensity, while working in tandem with carbon markets, both voluntary and compliance-based, will accelerate investment into projects that will reduce or avoid greenhouse gas emissions in the future. As Professor Solanki aims to emphasize through this conference, let us make a beginning towards saving our environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Last but not the least, we have with us Dr. Ajay Mathur. He is a Director General, International Solar Alliance. The International Solar Alliance is headed by the Director General, who leads the operation and carries out the function of ISA Secretariat, and he is responsible for the ISA Assembly. Over to you, sir.
Chetan, Venkat, Anjal, Sia, Mehak, Dr. Rajiv Kumar, and many, many friends of yesterday and of today in the audience. It's a pleasure to be here. I have been greatly enthused by Chetan's 11-year journey across the country on the solar, I would prefer to call it the Solar Jodo Yatra. The challenges that we face are immense. Yet, I am also enthused by the actions that are happening. Last year when we gathered in the COP at Glasgow, already at that COP, by the time the COP ended, 85 countries had committed to net zero targets. So more than 8,000, I think 8,300 something companies had committed to net zero. Nearly 600 financial institutions had committed that they would only provide financing to companies and to projects that focus on net zero. And certainly, as far as institutions, educational institutions and healthcare institutions are concerned, I think there must have been somewhere in the vicinity of 1,200 educational healthcare institutions that had committed to this. This is a major change. I liken it to a huge canvas, a painting that you have in front of you. All of us who would like to make a change and move towards a greener and more climate-friendly environment are in one corner. But what Glasgow showed and what Sharm el-Sheikh this year showed was that there are a huge number of opportunities that are occurring so that people can radiate out to the rest of the canvas. This is important. It is how quickly we are able to move out of this small zone in a corner and paint the entire canvas green. And I think all of these initiatives, and I know some of them will be successful, others will be not. These initiatives tell us of the kinds of actions that countries, companies, and people's groups are taking across the world to make this happen. As we focus on implementation, we focus particularly on what are called the science-based target initiatives, under which, based on science, what is the kind of goal that a company or a country will take is kind of formulated. We look forward to more and more organizations focusing on these science-based targets. I also was delighted to see Professor Anjal Prakash's presentation. What is very clear is that while climate mitigation is important today, my own organization, the International Solar Alliance, works towards ensuring that solar energy becomes the energy source of choice in every of our member countries. It alone isn't enough. We can certainly, by moving to solar and other renewables, we can certainly avoid the climate becoming unmanageable. Avoiding the unmanageable is what it does. But at the same time, we need to focus on managing the avoidable. This is the committed climate change that has already occurred. And within this, I would suggest that ecological restoration is very much a part of our actions. It is a vital response to all the climate change mitigation activities that we also carry out. Because what we are seeing is that we are seeing more rainy days, we are seeing stronger cyclones. What is it? You know, these are amongst the first things that were predicted in the 1990s when the first, what are today called the GCM models, the global climate models were developed. What they said was that over the Indian subcontinent, the rainfall initially will not change, and that's what's happened. But the number of rainy days will decrease. And that's what has happened. So now you have days when you have a lot of rain, and then you have many, many days without rain. So you have flooding, and at the same time you have droughts. What the models also predicted was the number of storms that are developed over the oceans will not change. But what will change is their intensity, because as they draw more and more heat from the warming oceans. And that's exactly what has happened. The storms that become cyclones are more, and the cyclones that hit the land are now more devastating than they were. We are seeing the future come alive. This suggests that we need to have actions which look at both. For example, in my own area of solar energy, we are looking at options that can mix the two. For example, if you look at cyclone vulnerable areas, one of the key sectors, one of the key delivery points that needs to be there when the cyclone has passed is a health center. Yet, health centers are the first which cannot function because they have no electricity. We would like to work towards creating solar health centers that are solar powered. And the solar panels can withstand winds of 150 kilometers per hour plus. The first such solar health centers have been tested out, and in a number of island states, Fiji, Guyana, etc., Tonga, and when the next cyclone hits, we will know whether they survive or they don't. Similarly, an idea that we have been mulling over is mixing solar panels, large solar panels, with crops that help pollination to occur, and therefore beekeeping becomes an activity that is allied with solar panels. But solar panels, crops, and beekeeping together provide a model for both mitigation and ecological restoration to occur. Now, all of this seems very sensible. And as Chetan mentioned, the first thing that we need to do before we do all of these actions is ensure that we become energy conscious. Energy efficiency matters. It matters to our pocket. It also matters to the global climate. And so I ask myself, as CR did a few moments ago. Why isn't action happening on this? This seems so straightforward. She answered it that one of the things that happens is people forget unless they are reminded again and again and again. It is in this spirit that I look forward to Professor Chetan Solanki's travels across the country, because they provide a visible proof to people on what can be done. It is not a passing fancy. It is something that will stay in the news and provides also options on what can be done. We have to work together. Each one of us needs to change our behavior. I look forward to our actions changing the course of human history. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your precious insights. At the beginning of the conference, I had spoken about some unique elements. I request Professor Chetan Solanki to please come forward and take forward the proceedings of that.
Once again, thank you very much. And as it is said that there are many things that we need to do, and thanks to Dr. Ajay Mathur for telling us again that we need to remind ourselves again and again, again and again, again and again. Many things that we are going to do in this conference is going to remind much more than you can ever imagine. What we are going to do, and I would like to request attention from all dignitaries, what we are going to do is unveil that red color thing that is there on the front stage. Dr. Mathur, that you see the red color thing, I don't know how many of you can guess what it is. But yeah, so everyone, if you can, I just explain what it is. But is there any guess in the audience? What is there below the red cover? Any guess? Tabla, solar panel, okay. Anybody else? Veena, okay. Anybody else? I guarantee you that probably in your dream also you could not imagine what is there beneath the cloth. So what is there beneath the cloth is a beautiful black color bags. You know, I would say beautiful because that is what we are doing it. If you do not aware, but let me remind you of the fact that each one of us emit 200 kilograms of carbon dioxide every single month. Per person, per month, 200 kilograms of carbon dioxide is being emitted in the atmosphere. 200 kilograms. Can you imagine? Just to bring you sense that this is 200 kilogram, I would give a challenge to every participant in this hall and every dignitary in this hall to pick up this 200 kilogram and realize how much carbon dioxide you are pumping in the atmosphere every single month. That's an open challenge to everyone. I dare you, please come and lift this 200 kilogram. What I'm going to do is, with the help of all the dignitaries, I'm going to, first time probably in the history of not only in India but in the planet, we are going to unveil the carbon dioxide bags having 200 kilogram weight as a dignity. I hope it is, why don't you give a big hand to creativity of our team, Energy Swaraj Foundation. I hope this picture will become the talking picture, not in the town, not in the country, but everywhere. But that is what we are doing. I dare everyone, are you trying to lift Professor Anjal Prakash, please? It's literally 200 kilograms. So if anybody can feel the weight, you will feel this is what you are doing to this atmosphere every single month. And And by the way, this is only for India, but if you go to other country, the weight actually goes bigger and bigger and bigger. Wow. That's a give us a big round of applause to Professor Anjal for even trying it. I wish, I request all of, and there are many such things that are going to happen in every session. You will find a unique thing happening. I request all of you, please take a selfie with 200 kilograms of carbon dioxide bags per person per month. Make sure that it goes to everybody's social media today. Make sure that it becomes a talking point in the town. Will you all do that? Yes. Thank you very much. I would like to thank once again all the dignitaries for unveiling this unique 200 kilogram carbon dioxide bags. I hope it is going to open eyes of everyone, and as Sia mentioned, I hope it will make people even more anxious that what a damage, what a disaster that we are contributing to the climate change every single. This is only 50 kilogram, by the way. This is only 50 kilogram. Total is 200 kilogram. This is what we are doing, by the way. That's what I wanted everybody to feel. This is what we are doing. And this is only the weight in a mass. Imagine 200 kilogram of gas, how much volume it is taking. The entire atmosphere is a finite. It's not an infinite atmosphere. You cannot, apna baap ka samajh, you cannot keep emitting carbon dioxide. That is what Shia and Mehak should be saying, कि अपना बाप का नहीं है ये atmosphere, ये future generation का है. Please save it. Please do not put this, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Please, from today itself, as I said, start acting. One of the requests I want to do, one of the disaster I struck yesterday, all of us, I wanted to make the whole conference as a paper free. I mean, even the water glasses should be not a paper glass, because we just use it one time and throw. I wanted people to drink tea in the cups, not the paper cups. But the cost that they gave me, 85 rupees per person per day cost of using a normal cup. I mean, it was so much I could not afford it. But I hope all of you take a special care that you use a glass which will provide you one glass, just drink water from the top, so that you are not going to use every time of water another cup. Make another habit, carry your own glass if it is possible. Wherever you are going, you can use this glass to drink tea, drink water, whatever it is. I could not save it because I did not have money enough. But I request all of you to please do not use even one time use and throw, because that itself contributes to the 200 kilogram bag that is sitting there, and it is contributing. So please become aware, sensitive from right now. And as I said, by the end of the conference, when we leave, we make sure that you all are a changed person and going to behave in a manner that does not emit carbon dioxide. Every second of our life and every action that we do is emitting carbon dioxide. So once again, thanks to all dignitaries for unveiling such a beautiful piece of 200 kilograms carbon dioxide. Thank you very much.